Anyways, hey guys, here we are back with more reactions to this channel. And again, I'm just going to play a couple minutes with the camera facing the computer, and then I'll face the camera towards me so you can see kind of like me reacting to it. So, anyways, let's rewind a little bit and then let's continue
Learning.
learning.
This is why we have no word for goodbye. Because everything is circular. Yeah? What's really important is that you understand what difficulties are. But when you come to peace with your past, that's where you learn it. Yeah? That's where you learn that difficulties are not a bad thing. And that you can transform them. It's like they're incomplete experiences. And yes, they bring pain and sadness and anger and disappointment and fear and all kinds of things like that. But once you start learning from it and making the most of it, those emotions slowly creep out and peace comes in. They serve their purpose. They're out of your body. They won't bother you anymore. You've neutralized it. That's what you've done. Yeah? And that's how you've come to peace with it. So, as you're living your life and you set a goal for your future, sometimes
I have not been outside of this room in 2040. I have not been out of this room in like over an hour. Um, I probably need some water and some Tylenol or something to keep me going. This is actually a difficult thing to do, to like continually like film myself reacting to a video. For some reason it's like getting harder like the longer it goes on. I don't know why that is, but just filming a video about me talking about random stuff is like super easy to do. But like actually reacting to something kind of difficult. I don't know why, but I'm gonna push through it.
a difficulty may come out of the blue.
So basically, David is slowly introducing the concept of difficulties that you go through in life, and let's listen more to what he has to say about difficulty.
Just out of the blue. But you know when you're healthy that this is not because of something you did. It's time to learn something. And it may hurt. It may throw you off the it may look like it's gonna throw you off your path. But as long as you stop and take a look at it, face it, learn from it, make the most of it, you're still on that path. You just stopped, but you're still on that path. And as you learn from this, it's going to move you forward way in the hell up there. It's like you're going to take a big jump. So actually, it's getting to your goal faster. But it does require you to really work on it.
So again, a lot of the stuff that he talks about, I love to put myself in the position of the nonlinear thinker and the person who's responsible, the person who faces their past, learns from difficulties, all these things. I love to put myself in those in that position, but I never really know how much of this I'm actually experiencing. You know, I never know how much of this information I've actually experienced in real time. Obviously, you can listen to something over and over and over again, and over time, you can kind of convince yourself that you've learned something because you've listened to it 5 or 6 times. You can convince yourself that you've learned something, but to like actually apply what he's saying into, for that to translate into somebody's life, a life that is completely different from his, it might not be as easy as just watching a video, listening to it, and then going out and trying to apply it. It may be a little bit more complicated than that. But anyways, we're just gonna continue the video, and we're going to hear more about difficulties. I think that's where this video is getting to.
So that's why healthy people are not afraid of difficulties, even though they scare the hell out of us, they shock us, they, the first reaction is sometimes is extreme disappointment. We always take time to calm down. Yeah? Express the emotion in a constructive way so you don't hurt anybody, anything, including yourself. Go for a vigorous run, go for a vigorous swim, climb trees, or do, really work your body as much as you can. Get that energy out. Go someplace, cry, and get angry, and it's okay to be scared. You let all of this energy out. Then you bring in your mind. This is how you work with your heart and your mind together.
So yeah, as far as doing vigorous runs and lifting weights and chopping wood and climbing trees and all that, I used to have a tree that was really tall. It was like maybe 60 or 70 feet in my old house back in California. I used to climb that tree all the time whenever I was feeling like some sort of way. When I was feeling not quite right, I would always climb that tree to the very top, and I would look at my I would overlook like my whole neighborhood from like a bird's eye view, and it would make me feel like really good. It made me feel really good about myself, and it made me feel like more confident. Like when I would come down and when I would fall out, when I would jump off that last branch and hit the ground, and when I would go back inside, I just feel a little bit more clear headed, a little bit more confident. So I'm guessing maybe that's what he's talking about. Although like I was a little kid when I did that. I was like 15. I was in middle school, and even in high school I used to climb that tree. So I'm sure that young people can do what he's talking about in his videos, but I have the feeling like you have to be a little bit older to comprehend like everything that he's talking about. I might be wrong about that, but lifting weights nowadays I don't have a tree to climb, so I go to the gym and I lift weights, and that honestly doesn't help me at all. Like it doesn't get rid of any energy that I have lifting weights. Maybe because I'm repressing the emotion, or maybe because the difficulty hasn't run its course, but like lifting weights doesn't seem to like help me like in any way whatsoever. Plus it feels awkward to work out with people at a gym. It just feels like really weird for some reason. So anyways, let's continue.
Bring in your mind and you say, okay, I'm still hurting a little bit, I'm still mad, I'm still disappointed, I'm still scared, but now I gotta see how I can start.
I have been in a very long difficulty. Oh my gosh, I've been in a difficulty. I You might call it depression. It might just be a depression, to be honest, but like it feels more like a difficulty than a depression, or it might be a combination of both. But I feel like I've been in a difficulty since last November, honestly. I've kind of been like emotionally vacant where I haven't really felt like any strong emotions. I felt anxious and I felt weird, and I felt physical symptoms that were very uncomfortable. And these might just be psychosomatic disorders, psychosomatic symptoms, and that could be a result of duality. So again, like how much of this stuff I'm actually able to comprehend and apply is probably like very little compared to like it's probably very little compared to like the amount of time that I actually just spent like watching his video and like trying to enjoy it. Um, but yeah, I've been in a difficulty for now, like from November to now would be like 7 months. I think November, December, January, February, March, April, and now May. We're going on May. Yeah, it's been like 7 months. And I have not seemed to I don't seem to I don't really have a way of like getting out of this. It's kind of a mixture of boredom, having nothing to do, not working, not spending time with friends, not making new friends, like kind of staying at home a lot of the time. And how do I get myself out of that? I'm not really sure. But it has to start within. That's all I know. And so I look to my dreams for help, and I look to my dreams because I dream pretty much on a daily basis. I mean, I think everybody does, but like I actually remember my dreams. And actually it was 2 nights ago that I did some karaoke at a bar. Let's see how much time this is at. Oh, 10 minutes. I did some karaoke at a bar with my brother, and it was a lot of fun. We had some alcohol, and both of us were singing. Our singing is not good, so there were people who were like, "Man, like you guys fucking suck." Like there's some people who told us like we really suck, and I was like, I just kind of laughed it off because I was like, whatever, it's not a big deal. It's just a bunch of drunks, doing karaoke at a bar. Although there were some people with really good voices too. So I don't know if we were just ruining the vibe, or if we don't belong there. I don't really know. But 2 days later, like that was Sunday night, not Monday night, but I think Tuesday night. Maybe it was Monday night. Maybe it was last night or the night before. But I had a dream. I was lucid in my dream for about 5 minutes, and it started out with well, I won't get into the dream too much, but all I'll say is that it was a very unique experience in the dream state. And when I woke up from that, I kind of felt like every time I wake up from like a kind of a dream state, I always feel like kind of good about myself. Like I feel good about things. But then as the day progresses, when the sun gets up to high noon, and then I realize, well, here I am at the house again. I'm bored. I don't have a job. Um, I can pretty much drive anywhere I want in the city, but I don't have money for gas and I don't have money for food. So I pretty much have to just eat whatever's in the fridge. Like, and I just go like, man, well, I'm having all of these experiences in my dream state, but when I wake up, all of that kind of mojo kind of goes away, and I just end up right back in the same spot in this difficulty. And so no matter how much of this advice I listen to on here, it doesn't seem to help very much. So, anyways, let's get back to the video.
Learning from this, and maybe you can talk to somebody that you trust, and that they'll help you to calm down too. They might see something that you don't see, and they can guide you to it. Sometimes that needs to happen. Sometimes you can do it all on your own. Yeah. And then
In terms of people who can help you with your difficulties, like I guess your parents are like I guess both of your parents, if you live with both of them or if they live separately because they're divorced, I guess you can go to either one of them for advice, right? Because they raised you to some degree. But I guess for people who are in depression or people who have a diagnosis like myself, like you would, the typical advice that people would give you is like, oh, get a therapist. And it's like, well, guess what? I've had a therapist for 6 years now. Since I started listening to David Little Elk, I've had a therapist. And like, has it really gotten me out of depression? Not really. Has medication really worked all that well? Not really. So it's like, when people say like, oh, just get a therapist, or they advise it online, it may be for people who are not really experiencing like a full-blown difficulty. It may be for people who are just experiencing depression. I don't think difficulties are things that therapists will really know too much about. You know what I mean?
through it, then you're like, I'm feeling better now. I'm feeling better. See, you're still on the road. You're just standing, taking a rest, but you're still on the road. Then, before you know it, you're further than you thought. That, my friends, is non-linear.
I'm not trying to say that none of this is helpful or that these videos aren't helpful. I maybe what I'm talking about has nothing to do with his video right now, but he mentioned difficulty and then he kind of explained what difficulties are, and I tried to explain in the best way possible my own kind of difficulties in the recent months of last year and of this year. Although that it's not entirely true that when you're going through a difficulty, you can't also experience good things when a difficulty is going on. It's not necessarily true because I went to Washington, D.C., Virginia to visit my brother who's in the Air Force, and I had so much fun. I literally, every day, I laughed about five or six things. Like, I had a genuine laughter, not like a laughter when you watch memes or a laughter when you're on the internet or something or listening to comedy. Like, just genuine laughter that was like coming straight from the experience that I was having. It wasn't like, again, it wasn't like like watching comedy or watching memes. Like it was directly from the experience I was having. I'll just give an example. Like in Washington D.C., sometimes people will dress up as people from the past, right? Because it's part of their job to dress up. And we were in this old town that had a lot of old buildings in it, and we were trying to find some food. Is me, my brother who's in the Air Force, my other brother who's with us, and my mom, and we were all trying to find a taco shop. So we were going around asking the locals, "Where's the taco shop?" They would point us down this street. We'd follow that street. We wouldn't find it. We'd ask somebody else. They'd point it down this other street. We'd follow that way. We kept on looking around for it. And on our adventure to this taco shop, there was this guy dressed in a revolutionary uniform from like the 1700s, and he was walking, and he was kind of a distance from us. He was maybe like 40 or 50 feet, and we were looking around for the shop, but we had stopped at like a street corner and we were just like on our phones like looking for it. And so when the guy was walking up to us, I decided to put on my phone like Yankee Doodle, like the Yankee Doodle music, and I played it as he was walking up to us, and he kind of looked around and my family members kind of looked around like going like, oh, what is happening, like where's that music playing from? I laughed so hard. Like as soon as I started laughing, like everybody else started laughing. The guy didn't think it was that funny. The guy who dressed up didn't think it was that funny, but there were other people around us, other like people who were visiting, probably people visiting Virginia, and they just started laughing. We all started laughing because it was just fucking hilarious. And like that's one of the biggest laughs I've had like all year, like literally all year. That will stick out all of 2024 is like one of my best memories, one of the most like memorable humorous moments I had. And um and that's all situated, that's right in the middle of a difficulty that I'm going through, and I can still find the time and energy to kind of laugh about something. So that just shows you that just because you're going through a difficulty does not mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you have a weak mind or a weak spirit. It just means that you have to deal with it as it's happening, and you have to find the time to kind of like think about other things, and then you have to find the time to kind of deal with it, and you're not weak. So just remember that. I keep on checking my phone, wondering how much time I have. I have about 1 minute left. So let's just listen to this video.
This is our way. That's what this is. This is the human way. Duality. It is the root of all problems, and it's important to understand it so that you know how to work it. And when you know how to work it, man, your life is going to really improve quality wise. Yeah? And you're going to see so much beauty around you. It's already there. But when you live this way, you're going to see it more and more. And it's really going to make you feel good. Yeah, that's medicine. And then you understand, uh, more than you ever could before. And when blessings happen to you, you enjoy them even more than you did before. So it's a win-win situation when you do your part of learning from difficulties. Okay? So duality and linear thinking go together. The Lakota Star Knowledge foundation concepts and non-linear thinking go together.
So I think that's where the video ends, or I think that is a intermission, that sound.
The world is a dualistic world.
Okay, so that was intermission. He's getting back into it. But we are going to end the video right there because it's at 20 minutes. And again, I'm just going to end it here in the bathroom. Anyway, stay tuned for more reactions to his channel. I really hope David Little Oak sees this because I think I might be the first person ever to react to his channel. Besides his students, I'm sure his students watch his stuff and talk about it all the time with him. But like for a complete stranger to kind of react to his channel, I might be the first one. So yeah, hopefully see this. Hopefully he finds it kind of funny, and hopefully that this you know hopefully mentioning his channel and doing reactions to his channel, hopefully it'll show him that he has fans all over. He has people watching from all over the place, probably all over the world. Anyways, peace. All right, the next reaction video starts now. um,
The quicker that we learn that, the, the sooner we're able to work with it, to transform it into something. Because if we try to destroy it, then we become dualistic. When you look at Lakota Star Knowledge creation stories, this duality was created by a process of not developing emotionally. Let's say you're living in a society where you develop healthy in a physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional way. But as soon as you take up the emotional aspect and you just focus on body, mind, and soul, then it's like you're a house, yeah? And taking out the emotional aspect is taking out one of those support beams. There's major beams in the house that everything is built around that, so that you can have rooms upstairs and so forth, and the supporting things, yeah. And so when you take one of those out, then part of the house is eventually going to collapse. And what we've done as humans is the same thing, that we took emotional development out of our lives and we collapsed. But we don't think we collapsed. That's the crazy part. We think we're okay. Yeah? And so we're sitting in this house that, part of it is caved in, but it's like, there's nothing wrong. Everything is in order. See? Can you see the emotional denial there?
Emotional denial. It's so funny whenever he talks about emotional denial. From the perspective of someone who is emotionally not developed or unhealthy, there's nothing wrong. The part of their house is caved in, and they look around. Oh, there's nothing wrong. It's just so funny.
We think we're complete and we're not. Yeah. Once we become this way, then we have children and we teach them to be the same way, and so if they don't know that there's something missing, So they're all building houses with a missing support beam, and they don't realize it.
So, in other parts of his channel, in other videos, he talks about this character Iktomi, and let me just check my phone really quick. 3 minutes. So he talks about this character Iktomi, and Iktomi has his own medicine wheel, right? There's Iktomi versions of everything, you know. And like Iktomi has his own pipe, he has his own medicine wheel, he has his own ceremony, and he has his own everything. And they're not like knockoffs of like other things, but like Iktomi is a very interesting character because Iktomi is a dualistic character. He used to be he used to be a healthy individual, but through a certain mistake that he made, through a certain decision that he made, he became like a lesser version of himself or like something like that. I don't really know exactly how to explain it cuz I am not I'm not native, so I don't know how to explain it very well, but like he basically made a mistake and in doing so he lost his emotional development or something like that. And his medicine wheel has three parts instead of four. It has the mind, the body, and the soul, but it doesn't have the emotions. But at the same time, Iktomi is David Little Elk says himself like he's one of the greatest teachers of all time because he teaches you what not to do. And when you learn not to do something, when you learn about something that shouldn't be done, you're also learning a lot of information. Just like in the same way, learning to do something, like learning a new skill, whether it's like, craftsmanship or it's you learn to fix your toilet or you learn to fix the sink or you learn to fix the electricity problem in your house. Like every time you learn something, you're gaining knowledge about something and that's good. But learning how to not do something can be actually can actually be harder than learning something, and it can actually be even more valuable than learning how to do something. Well, not more valuable, it's just like it's just as valuable to learn how to not do something than it is to do something. So I forget why I mentioned that. Let me scroll back a little bit.
We think we're complete and we're not.
Oh yeah, he was talking about the house that's incomplete. He was talking about how we took emotional development out of our lives like some time ago and how we're building all of these homes with a missing beam. But then we have a character like Iktomi who's dualistic himself, who has that missing emotional piece, and he is an amazing teacher. So you can see how you shouldn't be like when you're watching his David Little Elk's channel, like it took me a long time. Like it took me a long time to kind of figure out the whole process on his channel. Hey.
You still making the video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, when you're learning about duality, when you're learning about emotional development, you have to keep in the back of your mind, well, what about Iktomi? What about this? What about this character and their stories, who went from who went from having emotional development to having no emotional development, and how can you also learn from somebody who's not emotionally developed? Like you can learn from people who are not healthy people. You can learn how to not do something from somebody, um, and that's still a good thing to do. You know what I mean? So like, anyway, just take everything with as you watch his video. Just remember that there's a lot more information in all of his channel than there is like in a single video. Like you just make sure you listen to everything.
Yeah. Once we become this way, then we have children and we teach them to be the same way. And so if they don't know that there's something missing, so they're all building houses with a missing support beam, and they don't realize it. So after several generations go by, their houses look funny, but they think it looks normal. That's what we've done as humans. Yeah, our ancestors had full development. But in time, somewhere along the way, someone decides that emotional development is not important and focuses on just the other three. And as a result, this dualistic thinking comes into the picture. Yeah, and then maybe people agree with him. Some of them. Yeah, and they follow suit. So those people have children, those children, they never even get a chance to learn that there's something missing. So they think that the way their parents are, they think that's the way it's supposed to be. And so, thousands of generations later, we have all these religions that are all dualistic. It's because there's a supporting being missing. Like I said earlier, byproducts of that are racism and paternalism and ethnocentrism and dogma. Because there's no emotional development, there's emotional insecurity, inferiority complexes, yeah, disorders, personality disorders.
Personality disorders.
All kinds of stuff.
Dude, every time he mentions personality disorders, I just laugh to myself because personality disorders to me are like the funniest fucking thing. Borderline personality disorder, like all of these things they're so, for some reason they just make me laugh. I don't know why. Out of all the problems that human beings have, personality disorders like narcissism, borderline personality disorder. I don't know what the other ones are, but like they just make me laugh because like I don't even really believe in them. Because I think like I don't think that a narcissist is like an actual thing. I just think it's a certain characteristic that people have. Some people have more than others. But like anyways, they just make me laugh. I just had to let you guys know.
In which emotional development is not happening. And we think we're okay. Living this way, we think we're okay. And if anybody disagrees, we say, well, they're the enemy, so let's go and destroy them. And come up with a religion to justify it and everything. That's all coming from duality. So what this show is about is to learn that, hey, there's a supporting being missing in our house, and we have to put one in there. You see what I mean? So it's about completing. So what happened is that our ancestors start out complete, and then in time they think they can get along without a support beam, so they throw it out. So what they've really done is they've de-evolved.
Right, yeah.
And because of that, they create all these things that just causes tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And that's world history.
That's world history for you.
Kingdoms taking over other kingdoms.
He's talking about European history. It's so funny. He's talking about European history. Kingdoms taking over kingdoms. Because I've been watching this show recently called Vikings, and that's what it's about. It's about Vikings pillaging and raping other villages. And then I go and I listen to this show and I think like, oh, the Vikings were like dualistic sons of bitches. It's just like super funny. How like you can go back and forth between different sources of information and compare them and go like, wait a minute, like these people in this TV show are actually dualistic, or they're linear thinkers, or like you can like you start to as like the more TV and YouTube and stuff you watch, the more of it you watch, it just all kind of gets like it all becomes like a big melting pot in your brain, like for information, and like eventually all of it starts to kind of like, all of it starts to bleed into one another, and you just, for me, it makes me laugh all the time when I watch this show and it's all about living a healthy life, and then you watch people on TV who are doing the exact opposite of what he's talking about, and I go like, oh my god, that's duality. That's an example of duality, or that's an example of linear thinking, like in this TV show, and it's just like it's fucking hilarious.
Uh, all this kind of thing, and saying, well, we got to be ready for them because we gotta know their every move, so we have to know how they think, so we're 3 steps ahead of them. And so it's really tricky, though. What I'm trying to say is that we went from a complete house to a house missing a beam for thousands of years. Most of the Western world is living in houses that's missing a beam that should be there, a support beam. So you see, to destroy it, it's not gonna, it's going to just cause more chaos. Yeah, to just go around destroying all the houses. So instead, what we do is we put that beam back in there.
What time are we at?
So
We're
a
at 13
dualistic
minutes.
house is a
So this video is at 18 minutes and 30 seconds, and we've gone through all of it so far in the previous 3 reaction videos. And there is, let's see, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. There's 5 minutes left in it, so we should get through it in this reaction video.
incomplete house. You see what I mean? It's incomplete thinking. So learning about duality is about completing it to transform it into something that works or something we can learn from. Because sometimes things are so dualistic, it's just beyond repair. And the best thing we can do is learn from it as much as we can, and then put that in our handbook of how not to be in that way.
When he says something like that, where a situation is so dualistic that the best thing you can do is just to learn from it and learn how not to be like that. Like whenever I think of that, I think of homelessness, because I think of like, man, those people like ended up like in the worst situation possible, like in a country that is not a third world country, in a country where there is resources, there is money, there are jobs, there's like all this stuff, there's technology, and someone ends up homeless. Like that's got to be the most dualistic situation there is. But again, that might be an incorrect interpretation of duality, of the way that he's talking about it on his show. But like when he talks about something that is so dualistic that the best thing you can do is just kind of leave it alone, that's when I think about like homelessness. That's when I think about the homeless people who I see when I drive around. Anyways.
See what I mean? And that's where we have Iktomi stories come in our
And
culture.
he does mention Iktomi, which I just mentioned a couple minutes ago.
That's what those are. Yeah? Just because you know something, that does not automatically mean that you know how not to be that something. You have to check it out. You have to learn how not to be it. Okay, look at spices. This is a really good example here. Let's say you have the kind of pepper that you put on your food, and then you have salt, and then somebody says, wow, see, it's black and white there. You got pepper on one side, and the other side is white, so that's salt. But then what about sugar? Do you see what I mean? Just because you know one side is pepper doesn't mean that the other side is always going to be salt. You see what I mean? You have to check it out.
He uses these metaphors, which sometimes make sense to me, sometimes they don't. It's kind of hit and miss with me. It might make more sense to other people, but it's always hit and miss for me.
So you find out which one it is. And maybe there's other spices that look like pepper. So you got to check that out too. So it's taking the time to check things out, to get the understanding of how it functions. And then, like I said, sometimes it's so dualistic that the best thing to do is just learn from it and let it go, because it's going to kill itself. Yeah, and that's still learning. Yeah, you're gaining, you're gathering information from that experience. So some stuff you just can't do anything but let it go. Learn from it and then let it go. Yeah? So that's why duality is important. It's not a bad thing. It's an incomplete thing. It's an incomplete house. It's a house missing a support beam. Just barely standing. But yet it thinks it's a mansion.
It thinks it's a mansion.
Yeah?
That's funny.
Oh my.
Oh
So
my.
that's why teepees had a center point, yeah, and a meeting point.
So funny.
There's just some thought there, yeah, something to think about. So anyway, that's why I talk about that on this show quite a bit, yeah? And that you can use that example to branch out all kinds of ways, yeah. In competition, you use that same way of thinking. That yes, it's good to win, but from losing you learn. And learning is a good thing. And winners, they're community thinking. So they say, I did this, so we will live, so we will eat, so we will have clothes, so we will have food and homes. He doesn't say, I did this because I'm the best. He doesn't say it in that way. So that's how it is in traditional thinking. It's a community thinking. Your body's this way too. Yeah? Your knee just doesn't get up.
So I think the last point he makes is about your body and how all your body is connected. And he goes on to say, or maybe I should just play it, but he goes on to say something like, your knee needs your leg, and your leg needs your hip, and your hip needs your spine, and like all your body all needs each other. Like you don't just say to one part of your body like, oh, I don't need you anymore, and then get rid of it, which is really funny. That's exactly what I did, but I'll get into that in another video. Anyways, I think we're going on 20 minutes, and there's only about 50 seconds left in this video. Linear thinking equals duality equals not cool. So let's see. I'm gonna show you guys the channel, and we're gonna find another video to look at. We're gonna look at one of his. We're gonna look at one of his oral tradition kind of videos. So let's see. Buffalo Head. The Race Around the Heart of Mother Earth. That's a good one. It's not my favorite, but it's a good one. The Sacred White Buffalo Calf Pipe. That's another one, which is cool. Let's see. The one that I really want to get to is the one about the Elk Dreamer. The Elk Dreamer is probably my favorite of all his oral traditions. But he's got so many good videos on here. He's got videos about aliens and stuff like that too. Let me just look it up. David Little Elk Dreamer. Elkman versus Elk Dreamer.
What the science is showing us is the universe appears to be alive. It appears to be conscious.
No way, it's alive.
Long time ago.
Okay, so you guys can see the title right there, Elkman. Elkman versus Elk Dreamer. And that's where we're gonna start the next video on that topic. And then perhaps I'll get around to some of his other videos. And perhaps I'm gonna make longer 1 hour videos reacting to his videos. So we'll see if I can even upload these and get them on YouTube. Hopefully I can. But anyways, peace.